Regional Operations Director for Darden Restaurants. And as you can see, Darden is up on the screen, and I'm sure all of you have been to some of these. So you've got something to share with Jason. And Jason's been here before, and the reason he does a good job is he's back again. Or he's back again because he does a good job.
I don't know.
Well, they like you. So Jason, it's all yours, my friend.
Cool, thanks. My name is Jason St. Germaine. I'm the Director of Operations for Longhorn Steakhouse. I have 9 restaurants that I oversee from Jonesboro, Arkansas, through the Memphis area, through Jackson, Mississippi, and Tupelo and Columbus as well. And I also have Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Just a brief history about myself. I've been in the restaurant business for 28 years. I started very young. My mother was a waitress as we grew up. I would be in a booth and watch her wait tables at a Big Boy, if you know about that, at night. And I thought that the industry really attracted me to the industry. When I was 15, I worked at Burger King. I moved on and worked private dining. I went to the University of Florida. Got a degree in microbiology and cell science and a minor in chemistry. That's why I've been in the restaurant industry for 28 years.
It all fits.
Yeah, it all works out in the end. I worked for Ruby Tuesdays in the 90s when it was a good restaurant chain. I don't think it is anymore. I did private. I owned 2 restaurants, one in Jacksonville, Florida, and one in Brunswick, Georgia. They're called the Mill House restaurants. There's 4 of them now, so my ex-partners are still in business, and they're doing well, I hope. And I've been with Darden for 10 years. I've been with Longhorn Steakhouse, managing partner for them. And then for the last 5 years, I've assumed the director role. So within the restaurant business, I have worked every position from a drive-through attendant at a Burger King to a restaurant owner, and then as a director for a corporation. So I've seen a lot of the different angles of the industry over almost the past 30 years. So enough about me, and just want to give you some preface of it. I've pretty much seen quite a bit in the industry, and I've seen it change over the years. But let's talk about Darden. Darden is the premier full-service dining company in the world, if you will. If you looked at a pie chart of Darden in sales versus, let's say, a Bloomin' Brands, which is Outback Steakhouse, or a Texas Roadhouse, or a Brinker, which contains Chili's, Darden far supersedes the sales of all of those other restaurant companies. So these are the brands that are currently within Darden, Olive Garden, Capitol Grill, Longhorn, Eddie V's, Bahama Breeze, Seasons, Yard House. And then we did a merger and acquisition this year and bought a company called Cheddar's.
And so you got that now?
We do. We picked up Cheddar's this year on acquisition.
Close one here, huh?
Yeah, Cheddar's, just to talk about them, they are one of the most successful value casual dining brands. It's hard to argue. Their average, we call it traffic, which is the guest counts that you do a week. They do like 6,300 guests a week, which is a whole lot of people to feed casual dining in full service. Where an average Olive Garden, which is our second highest traffic brand, is about 4,300 a week. So Cheddar's are extremely busy, and the reason they are is because they're such a value proposition. Their PPA, or it's per person average, is about $10 to $12. And the number one thing that the consumer in the casual dining industry is looking for is value. That's what they're looking for. So Cheddar's is actually out here. Has anybody eaten at any? Raise your hand if you've eaten at any of these. All of these. Okay. You know what's up.
Can we ask questions?
All the way through. Just keep them. Yeah, I love questions.
PPA.
Uh-huh.
Is that data replace the quote-unquote average check?
Well, check average is still certainly a thing. We look at check averages, though check averages don't account for the number of guests within a check. Let's say a two-top comes in, you have a check, based on that, and then a per person average really drills down to a particular, how much somebody in particular is spending in a unit. Like a per person average at a Longhorn at night is $22 a person, and that, because you're getting more alcohol sales and stuff like that at night. And then if you look at like an Eddie V's, it's like 75. Eddie V's is very fine dining, and you know, fine dining is doing very well right now. Casual dining is also doing pretty well. Fine dining does well because it's all corporate money. Like most of that money is not individuals' money. Most of that is publicly, you know, it's just corporate expenses and whatnot. So we do. We are a Fortune 500 company. A diverse portfolio of category-leading brands. We own and operate more than 1,500 restaurants. That number is more like 1,800 now. Collectively employing more than 150,000 people who serve over 320 million meals a year. One of the largest private employers in America. We're bigger than that now. Some of this data is a little antiquated. Yeah, Eddie V's. Our growth brand right now, since we acquired Cheddar's, will be Cheddar's. We will build Cheddar's first and foremost. So we'll probably build, like we're going to build probably 20, 25 Longhorns a year. Cheddar's, once we get it integrated with our systems, we purchased them last year. It takes about 2 years to go into and change the culture of a restaurant, to implement your POS systems, which are your point of sale systems, your payroll, taxation, all of that. It takes a couple years, but we're going to build a bunch of Cheddar's as well. Our core values at Darden: respect and caring, integrity and fairness, diversity, teamwork, always learning, always teaching, excellence, and being of service. I do believe that Darden, and I'm certainly a fanboy of Longhorn because I've worked for them for so long. I feel like Longhorn does a good job, though we are part of a portfolio of a large company that we're allowed to be very genuine with people. We have collectively, Longhorn in particular, we have the lowest team member and management turnover in the business right now because we retain people very well. And that's honest feedback both ways. We try to address problems and fix problems as they happen. Longhorn does a really nice job with that. Currently, our manager turnover in my region is going to be 11% after this month, and the industry is at 40% of management turnover. So we're holding on to folks. Casual dining, just to differentiate some of the portfolio, some of the looks at what this is. There's casual, polished, and fine dining. What we're seeing right now is that casual dining is, if you look at a trend line on traffic, which is the number of guests that you have come in, and then their sales. Now, obviously, to keep up with inflation, most restaurants raise their menu prices approximately 2% a year to keep up with 2% inflation. What we're trying to do at Longhorn specifically is we're trying to undercut inflation, because it goes back to that value equation again for our guests. For example, like in next month, we're going to offer our porterhouse is a 20-ounce porterhouse right now, and our T-bone's at 16 ounces. We're going to sell an 18-ounce T-bone and a 22-ounce porterhouse for the same price. We're not going to charge the guests for it. We're just going to give them a bigger steak, better quality on the plate. And people do notice that, and they come back to you. What we're trying to undercut at Longhorn right now is couponing and value and deep discounting, because it kind of cheapens the experience. Polished casual, Seasons 52 comes to mind. Has anybody eaten at a Seasons 52? What are your thoughts on Seasons? Do you remember the experience?
Yeah, it was okay. I think we had a special menu because my friend had like a birthday party there, so we were in a special room.
Gotcha.
And I think we just had like, a little menu.
Banquet menu.
Yeah.
5 or 6 choices on it, that kind of thing. Seasons is probably the one that's struggling the most for us. It has an identity problem. People think of Seasons 52, you think, what do I eat there? Like, Seasons 52, what does that mean to me? So polished casual is actually not doing as well, for us at least. And then fine dining is Eddie V's and Capital Grill, and they're doing very well. That Bahama Breeze is actually resurging for us and doing pretty well. Our alcohol mix at Bahama Breeze continues to increase. If you've ever been to Bahama Breeze, the drinks are great. They are expensive, but it's a good place to hang out, and the food's pretty good. And then Longhorn, and then Capital Grill we talked about, Eddie V's. This is also a growth brand for us, to talk about it for a little bit. Yard House. Has anybody eaten or drank at a Yard House? It is like an upscale, it's an upscale sports bar, really. There's some of the the niche things that we talked about. It has 500 miles of keg line in every. So you walk in and there's like a keg room that is encased in glass, and there's just hundreds of kegs. So they have more beers, just hundreds of beers on tap. I don't know how they keep it fresh or how they sell it. I don't know if they keep the keg lines. Maybe be a lot of working parts to that, but that's a growth brand for us. Those things do about $9 to $11 million a year, so we only put them in areas where there's a lot of foot traffic, where there's more upscale shopping and whatnot, like a Cheesecake Factory. Olive Garden debuted in 1982 in Orlando. There's about 900 Olive Gardens now. Love them or hate them, we love to make fun of them. It's prevalent in our culture. I was watching Family Guy last night. They were making fun of it last week, which is great for PR. But Olive Garden is hands down the most successful casual dining restaurant in history. They do so much sales, and they're what the margins are and what the cost percentages on pasta and manicotti is like 25%. So we make a lot of money. Olive Garden really defines how Darden performs on a quarter-to-quarter basis as far as our earnings and whatnot. So a lot of growth, not a whole lot of growth. That's our large cap company. We're probably only build 2 or 3 Olive Gardens a year. The Olive Garden's already coast to coast, and you don't want to oversaturate a market with a certain brand. Longhorn, 81 in Atlanta. We just hit our 500th restaurant this year. It's about 1.6 billion now in annual sales. What can I say about Longhorn? We've tried to be the under the radar steak place where Outback Steakhouse was so prevalent in the 90s, and it's the most. And Outback has the most number of units. We have about 500. Outback's got about 1,000 units. So we always want to kind of have that underdog mentality, that Outback is bigger than us, better than us. So Outback is kind of fading. They're doing well. They're large. They make tons of money still. But if you start looking to talk about the stock market and whatnot, it's just a wicked game. But who's doing really well and who is our main competitor now is not Outback Steakhouse. It's Texas Roadhouse. Texas Roadhouse does very well. They have a great value proposition for their guests. People like the casual atmosphere of Texas Roadhouse. They keep the restaurants very staffed. They only open at dinner. They have a lot of focus on those 7 shifts a week versus 14 shifts a week. They do a really nice job as well. So I always tip my hat to Texas Roadhouse there. They are beating us in sales increase or same-store sales versus last year.
Now, Jason, since you mentioned Texas Roadhouse, what about Logan's?
Unfortunately, well, not fortunately for me. I mean, I've never been a Logan's fan. I mean, I'll bang on Logan's all day. There's large companies in the restaurant business. When you talk casual dining, there's large companies like Darden and Bloomin' Brands and Brinker, which is Chili's, and then there's independents. And the people that are taking, because it's all a market share game. It's people eat, and you spend your dollars in different places, but everybody eats. So it's who's taking market share from the other person. And right now, the people that are succeeding are large corporations because they're allowed, because of commodities purchasing, advertising. We're able to put a lot of value on a plate because we have the purchasing power for that. Where an independent is more, people identify emotionally a lot more with independents. I do as well. I've been independent. I get that. But I tell you what, it cost me a lot more as an independent to buy a pound of prime rib than it did working for Longhorn. 2 different games entirely. But the point is about Logan's is that the mid-level chains are the ones that are really struggling, that are closing units right now. And Logan's is a prime example. Logan's closed 20-some units last year. Now what we see from our talent acquisition managers and anybody that's good at Logan's is looking to jump ship, to get out. Because they know the shit, eventually you're gonna go to your place that you work and you feed your family from, and there'll just be a lock in the door. Nobody ever says when they close a restaurant until you walk up to it. There's just a chain on the door. So Logan's is not doing well. I expect Logan's, it takes a long time for a restaurant chain to die because of cash flow. You look at Ruby Tuesdays, they were dying for 20 years. And they only recently came off the stock market this year, finished their share price at $240 a share, and it's only a matter of time. It's just real estate. Whoever owns those things is looking, how much can I get for the real estate underneath them at this point? So Logan's not doing well. Who else is in that mid-level group? We were having this conversation the other day.
Colton's, yeah.
Exactly, and that's exactly what we're talking about too. Colton's is, I like Colton more than Logan certainly, but yeah, okay. But Colton's isn't doing great either. It's really hard to be a mid-level chain because you get 2 or 3 units that'll sink, and it'll sink the profits of your breadwinners too. Like it only takes a couple dogs, and it'll take the whole thing down. Bahama Breeze we talked about a little bit. We've got, I think there's 50 some Bahama Breezes now. We're growing those. We're decreasing the footprint of the actual structure. There's such a big restaurant that we're building a much smaller, like a 6,000 or 7,000 square foot Bahama Breeze instead of like a 12,000 square foot Bahama Breeze, just for pricing. And serving a restaurant with that many tables and that many guests is difficult if you ever work in a restaurant business. Like that is hard. We call them peak periods, when you get a Sunday and church gets out at 1 o'clock and there's 500 people at your door at one time and you have a restaurant that big. It takes a lot of executional prowess to successfully serve that many people. So we're reducing them, and just the cost of real estate and taxation and whatnot. Those are doing pretty well. Seasons is the one that we're having a hard time with. Originally, Seasons 52 stood for 520. So 52 meant everything on the menu was 520 calories or less, was the original concept behind it. Well, most Americans don't want 520 calories. They don't want this dish right here for 25 bucks. It's 5 sea scallops and sauteed spinach over rice. Maybe you do, I don't know. But for the price point, the value equation was very low on it. So we're trying to reinvent Seasons a little bit. You know, eventually, for Darden, what happens if one of our brands doesn't perform, which means it doesn't bring back a double-digit operating profit within the brand, is that we'll sell it out. And we'll sell it like we did with Red Lobster a few years ago. We sold Red Lobster to Golden Gate Capital out of California, and just got it off the docket. As it wasn't making money, we didn't think it was going to make money anytime soon. Capital Grill, doing very well. Not as many units, very high per person average, fine dining. I mean, that's a. I'm okay with it. I think it's very expensive. Eddie V's, a very good place. Yard House we talked about, very alcohol focused, high beverage mix. Talk about getting started with Darden. Tony put this in here. You know, I just kind of go through the flow of it and my mindset on it. I mean, obviously you guys are, you're doing your college thing right now, different aspirations. What I found in this class, not everybody was wanting to do, is there anybody wanting to do restaurants eventually? Yeah, that's 1 or 2, maybe. Yeah, that's what I found the last couple times. It's not a romantic thing. Yeah. But getting started with Darden, front of the house positions, back of the house positions, service positions. The way I cultivate my management teams, and I've kept my turnover low, is that I take folks that work for us, they get to know the culture of the restaurant that they're in, they show their loyalty, they show if they can show up to work on time, they show their confrontational skills. Because you work with them at a certain level, you develop them, you develop their character, their confidence, you educate them on the technicalities of running a restaurant. And then we have a program called the SPCP, which is basically an hourly manager making, I don't know, it's $14 or $15 an hour. It's not very lucrative. But then I will continue to develop that person until I have them assessed for management. Right now I'm starting my managers out anywhere from 50 to 55,000 base. The bonus target's about 4,500. And you start glomming on like the total rewards program, health insurance is a thing, 401k, life insurance, and their stock purchase programs, get all that stuff. It's about, you start talking Social Security matches and whatnot, it's about $65,000, $70,000 a year, total compensation to be an RM. Our GMs, I was talking about Longhorn specifically, our GMs at Longhorn, the median income is about 65 on base. Their bonus target's about 20,000 a year. They have a restricted stock on a 5-year target at 9,000. They get things as well. They average about 85 to 105 a year being a GM for us for Longhorn. But anyways, you start an hourly management internship. That's that SPCP position. Then manager and training. go through this here. Just talk about the restaurant business. I've been private, and it's definitely, you think it's going to be like the end. Like when I opened the doors of my restaurants, I was $2.25 million in debt. And that's a true story from a private bank and an SBA, and that's before we even got the thing started. You know what I mean? Like we just had a building built, 2 buildings built. So when you work, so my mind says, people, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to own my own restaurant. I want to do that, and I don't. Anybody who's got a great plan and a lot of capital to risk, be my guest. I did pretty well with it, getting in and getting out. But if not, if you do want to work restaurants, it's okay to work for the biggest kid on the block. In America, working for, most people want to be entrepreneurs, especially when you're younger. But the reality is most people don't get rich being an entrepreneur. They get rich off stock from the stock market and stock options and whatnot. And so working for Darden provides that company with that culture. We've had a 10% equity return on our stock rolling for the past 11 years. And that's an incredible return on our stock. But just to talk about their promote from withins, 99% of our GMs and MPs are promoted from within. 30% are started as an hourly employee with us. We promote nearly 1,000 team members a year into management. That's got to be closer to 2,000 now. More than half of our hourly employees move into our management training. More than half of our hourly employees move into our MIT program. Yeah, that's pretty bogus right there. Sorry about that. I'll erase that one because that can't be true. Training on the job. If you were to start as a server or bartender, I mean, if you need a side job, we're looking. The level of unemployment the way that it is right now and the level of low-income jobs out there, people, it's pretty easy to get a job, you know, if it's under X amount of dollars. But our servers do well. They make pretty good money. They make $15, $25, $30 an hour if you're a bartender on a side schedule that is very workable with other folks. I certainly waited tables for years when I went to college. We do on-the-job training, certified trainers. We train for a week to 2 weeks. You know, and try to make, I think we do a pretty good job at Darden of making people feel welcome, which is going to be a hard thing when you start a restaurant job, or you want a restaurant job, and it's just a tough nut to crack sometimes to make yourself feel like you're in a good environment to make some money. Team members, competitive salary, I mean, you name it, down there. Employee assistance program, flexible work schedules. That's the biggest one. That flexible work schedule is very nice. It really is. Let's talk about what the MIT program looks like. It's 8 to 12 weeks of training based on whether you're an external hire or you're an internal hire. You know, we train you in each position in the restaurant. We train you back of the house, front of the house, and then you do a phase where you actually assume the management position, whether it be kitchen or bar host manager or service. And then we fly you down to Orlando. You spend a week down in Orlando getting food serve safe qualified and whatnot. And then when you get out, you become bonus eligible as well. I think our training's good. I've been in the restaurant industry a long time. I know what bad looks like. And I think we do have opportunities in our training, but I think Darden does as far as team member training and the welcoming environment and our management training. Certainly our management training, we put a lot of money. We invest, it costs like $17,000 to train a manager. So we put a lot of money, and we're talking like a month or two, not any more than that. So we spend a considerable amount of money and invest a lot of money and time into our MITs. I try to, at least. What a manager looks like. Comprehensive medical, drug coverage, accounts, you name it. You know, you guys are all probably familiar, at least heard about most of the stuff. Our 401k, I do want to talk about stocks a little bit because I think it's very important that we educate ourselves, because as I get older in my career and I talk to people and they're 40-some years old and I say, how long have you been working on your 401k? And they're like, I don't have a 401k. And you've been on salary for 20 years. It's like, man, you're going to be doing this till you're 65, 70. I hope that you've got a plan here on this. But our 401k is, it's obviously you invest pre-tax and it's a company match. And you want to work for a company because they're matching you in their stock. A 401k isn't like some magical stock. Like you're getting matched in that company's stock. So you want to work for a solid company with that. We also do discounted stock. I can buy up to $20,000 a year at a 15% discount without load fees, and it does become a very lucrative thing over time. Paid vacations, we do a very good job with that. You get 2 weeks. 2 weeks in the first year, 3 weeks at 5 years, 4 weeks at 10 years, and then 5 weeks at 15 years of tenure. Quarterly bonus, dining discounts at all of our brands, adoption, employee assistant, legal plan, continuing to educate. We have salary managers that are working on their master's degree, and we reimburse their tuition based on their performance in class. If they get a B, they get like 75 or 50 or 75%. If they make an A, we pay 100% of their tuition, as long as they're working on a degree that is relevant to their career with Darden. Oh, okay. Try to add content to that, but it's pretty quick too. So questions? What do you guys want to do? I guess that would be 30 different answers, huh? What do you want to do with your life, or I don't know, restaurant thoughts on restaurant business? Who served tables or worked in the restaurant business? Where did you work at?
One on barbecue.
Okay, was that here in town? Were you cooking or serving?
Certainly.
Yeah. How long did you do it for?
I'm still there. I've been there for over a year now.
Okay. Very
You ever tried their barbecue, Jason? One only?
I have not.
It's good.
Okay.
Sometime when you're in the market for a little rib action,
Okay.
it's very good.
I actually, again, I quit eating the chicken, beef, and pork.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you can do
Yeah,
that.
November I'm off the dog. Then off chicken, beef, and pork. After 30 years of restaurant business, it's time. It's time to not eat hamburger meat anymore. I don't know what else. Thoughts? Yeah.
I used to work at Capitol Grill.
Did you? How was it?
I hated it.
Okay. Were you a host
I was
or?
a hostess.
Okay. What didn't you like about it? Let's get into the minutia.
I don't like fine dining.
Okay.
I'm just not a fan of it. But then I worked at Soulfish, which I like better.
Is that an independent here?
Yeah, I guess.
It is, and you got to try that too.
Okay, I definitely try the soulfish for
That's
sure.
the best catfish in town, I think.
Yeah, I worked at Capitol.
Tell me, how long did you work for Capital for?
Probably like 2 months.
2 months? Were people too snooty? Just everything.
I mean, I like the managers and everything. But
Was it your coworkers or?
no, I like the coworkers too. It's like the people coming in and just like
Okay.
the whole like I have to speak a certain language, I guess.
Yeah, you had to come across a certain way.
The guest, I forgot what it's called, but yeah.
Right,
I hated
the
it.
princess,
I
and the
got in
prince, or
trouble for
whatever
a
we
lot.
call them. Yeah, I would tell you that Longhorn, we have a different culture with that. We've stayed away from trying to be robotic, even down to our spiel. Where some restaurants you go and they're like, hey, try the veal linguine, blah blah blah, and we've gotten to where we're trying to be more, I don't know, just more free flow. Trying to stay away from the word organic. It's just more of a casual atmosphere at different places. So I'm glad you like the Soulfish. I'll check it out. Check it out. What else? Food, thoughts? You said you want to work restaurants. What's your goal? Behind you, I'm sorry.
It would be nice to own my own restaurant, but.
What do you want to do?
Just do something kind of simple and casual, like maybe a burger joint or something like that.
Burgers and
Like,
beer?
Good, yeah, absolutely. Lots of beer.
I would be there. My favorite restaurant in the Memphis, and I've lived all over, is Flying Saucer on Germantown. No show. Like their nachos, no beef, and my daughter always gets the pretzel, and trying to do the whole Flying Saucer thing, where you have the card and you try to drink 7,000 beers and they give you a paper plate or something like that. Well, good luck with that, definitely. Are you working in the industry right now?
I'm a server
Where are you working at?
at Bob Blue on Overton Square.
Okay. Is that Midtown?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. How is it?
I like it. It's really nice. It is more corporate than what I'm used to, so.
What does that mean?
More corporate. So I'm used to like working for, I guess, smaller restaurants. They have a lot of rules and like.
There's
you
more
like you
rules at the
said,
corporate
there's-
place?
Yeah, there's a whole spiel that we have to go through at
Gotcha.
each table. So, I mean, they're just more uptight than what I'm used to.
Now, they've got, what, they got 7 restaurants, I know they got 2 here.
What is it, Bob? What is it?
Babalu.
Babalu.
It's Spanish,
Like the
it's
bear?
like tapas and tacos.
Tapas? Okay. Tacos.
And I think they're Birmingham guys, aren't they?
What is it? Jackson, Mississippi.
Jackson, Mississippi?
First one.
Yeah, there's a couple. Georgia Blue, if you ever heard of them. Jackson. Nice job as well. What do you guys look for in an employer? Like, what are you looking for? I know it's some of you guys are at different levels of college, but is it money first right now? I mean, is that can be? Is it money first, or is it quality of life? Is it, you know? I guess that gets another 30 different answers there, but you know, I look for what people want. I try not to, when I promote somebody to management, I try not to move them out of where they live or try not to disrupt their family life to get, you know, in business it doesn't just have to be one-sided. Like you can reach common ground a lot and still get what you need people as far as business goes.
Well, I don't know, Jason, I think, you really look for a good personality fit or a good cultural fit or chemistry, whatever you want to call it. I think the money takes care of itself at some point.
Yeah, I mean, it does, man. I mean, there's, I guess, the median family incomes in places, you know, they say that $75,000 in the United States gets you after that, your level of happiness doesn't fluctuate much after that amount. That's pretty subjective. But, you know, especially when people start a job and they're making 50 or 60, you know, bottom line, I agree with you, Chris. I mean, I think when somebody fits with an organization and they enjoy their job, and you don't have to love it. Like people say, oh, you got to do what you love or you can't do it. Good luck finding that. I don't know what exactly that looks like. Maybe it's just me. But,
Well,
you know.
love may be a little strong too. You know, you kind of, I don't want to say endure, it's better than endure and less than love.
Yeah, right. You gotta kind of like it sometimes, you know?
The good days outnumber the bad.
There you go. I think that's fair. I think that's very fair. Yeah, I've enjoyed the restaurant industry for a long time, man. And you become, when you get paid to run a restaurant, you are very autonomous. Like you are the person in charge that night. I walk into a building, no matter what level I was at, when I walk into a building, that's what I'm getting paid to do. You know, and I don't have this power, like I must control everything or anything like that, but I like the responsibility of that in my job. I don't want a job where I go to and turn off my brain for 8 hours and then come home and be like, well, I'm gonna do that again tomorrow, and then the rest of the week.
Well, I think what all these guys have to realize is that when you're put in charge, take charge.
Yeah,
And you're accountable, you're responsible, and you really learn customer service and how to deal with the public and how to put out fires and how to deal with employees.
Yeah. Confrontation is the one that I'm seeing, and it's not a generational thing. They're like, oh, I'm letting the wrong guy at a confrontation. Well, I'm looking right at you. But confrontation is a technique. Like it really is where you maintain professionalism and get through things, and I find that's the hardest part for people. And as far as leadership goes, as long as you operate from the heart, like I'm doing the best that I can here to make this situation right, but I'm still I'm engaged in it. Like people will make mistakes. You'll drive home at night sometimes, be like, I wish I didn't say that. I handled that wrong. You know, but as long as you tried your best, I think people they know that. You know, emotional investments is what I call them. Like when you work with people and you work with their mistakes and they work with your mistakes, and as long as it's business is happening and everybody's making money, because that's what you're there to do first and foremost, you can get through things together, and it's a good place to work. It's a good culture.
Well, food and beverage is a great way to start a hospitality career. Maybe it sticks, maybe it doesn't. But it's international, There's a lot of opportunities, a lot of options, a lot of variations. And if after a while you decide to go to something else, you want to do independent restaurants, you want to do outfits like corporate outfits like Darden, you want to go to a hotel, you want to go to a resort, you want to open your own burger joint, who knows?
Yeah,
But it's so versatile.
it is. It is. The people that get really good at dealing with other people, like people say people skills, like if you vibe on people well and you find common ground and are able to make people feel like they can be themselves, you know, in any setting or any person, it's a very, to your point, it's a very good skill to have. Yes, ma'am?
I want to tell you just a quick story. On Sunday, my family and I decided we're going to do some, we're going to go downtown and do casual dining with Huey's.
Huey's, okay.
Huey's Restaurant. About 2 or 3 in the afternoon, we walked into the restaurant and there was a bench with people sitting there, and I thought, well, maybe, you know, it's a full restaurant. Walked in, no one was there. The people who were sitting on the bench were the waiters and waitresses.
Were they waiting on the manager to show up?
Said nothing at all to us. We were seated,
Okay.
the place smelled, the rest of the waitress who waited on us looked like she didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
Her fingernails looked dirty. We're a nice family. We ordered, and it was basic food. There was nothing special about it. She came back once. So as a guest, what do we do? I probably will never go back there. And we could have gone anywhere, but the dining experience was bland. Now, tell me what you think about that.
Yeah, I mean,
I did not go to the manager.
yeah, I mean, usually, like, if it's, because I've been on the receiving end of it for 30 years, like, but if you've got a legitimate, like, hey, Jason, what's your name, Jason, come here, and, you know, everything's talked like adults, like, when I go to recover a table, you know, we call it, the acronym is LEAF, listen, empathize, apologize, and fix it. And as long as somebody is being civil and like, hey, your restroom needs attention, it took 30 minutes at the door, I need you guys to pick it up. This is my family, we're here for an experience. Usually, as long as somebody's eloquent about it, they'll go out of their way to calm something or I'm gonna check back with you more often. So I would have definitely went with the manager, but ultimately, the number of places you can eat, you know, probably won't be back to that Huey's, right?
Probably not.
Which one was it again?
It was Huey's downtown. The waitress was probably in her 30s, so, you know, she knew better. But it was non-descriptive, and it was fine, but there was nothing special about the experience. And as I said, she seemed kind of bored and needed a bath.
Needed a bath, that was stinky.
Had a rough night.
Sunday morning restaurant industry.
I was thinking that.
By Sunday about 5 o'clock, it's a party. Yeah. Thank you for that. Appreciate you sharing that.
Well, now, in their defense, Huey's is usually better than that.
Well, that's exactly right. And especially the one in East Memphis, they, within there, that, you know, it's kind of.
But if you want to take it, to another level, I know that, so I'm happy
No,
to.
we were patient.
No, they're nice people. What else have we got for Jason?
Questions, comments, concerns?
I know you
thoughts?
got some questions, you prepared some questions.
No?
Great place to start your career, great place, remember, we got a work requirement in this
So
department.
the Cheddars used to be on Winchester and Hex Cross. Any plans for it? The one that shut down?
Well, we own the land. When we purchased Cheddars, we purchased their debt as well. So we've got a bunch of Cheddars, and you know those buildings are super expensive, man. Those are like $4 or $5 million restaurants on land. That's usually the valuation of land's usually $1 million or $2 million. And so what we've been doing is subleasing those restaurants, and most of them have become Mexican restaurants.
Nothing's there though. It's not in use.
Oh, yeah, right, and we're still, because we're probably trying to, it's like a conundrum. If you owned a house and you didn't live there anymore, do you want to sell it or rent it? So if you're gonna go sell your house, you can't put renters in it. So we're probably looking to sell those buildings in that land versus rent it out. But a lot of them have been taken over by other restaurant concepts. Cheddar's is gonna grow. We're gonna grow Cheddar's quite a bit. We're gonna build a ton of those restaurants.
Their chicken tenders are pretty good.
You enjoy chicken tenders?
I love the chicken tenders.
Good. I'm glad. I've been there once. I've only been there once. It's just a meat
Every
thing.
time I go, I get chicken tenders. I just like chicken.
How do you find the experience at Cheddar's?
Well, I went for my birthday, and then I went a couple of times before that, previous years. But I mean, I thought it was fine. I mean, I thought
Good enough,
it was
huh?
just a casual.
$15 later,
it was
I'm
just
full.
fine. Yeah.
The one on
That
Germaine
is
Parkway is
good.
always full.
It is.
Yeah,
That's
that's the one I went to, or the one I go to.
Yeah, I heard stories. I interviewed a couple of managers at the Winchester one. They definitely had just a tough area of the town.
Oh, yeah.
Tough area.
Yeah.
A lot of gunshots and whatnot. Bad for business.
Jason, how do these folks proceed if they're interested in employment?
Oh, that's a good one. Now I need a manager down in Tupelo like next week. So if you are interested in employment, go to longhornsteakhouse.com. There is a management assessment in there. It's 165 questions. This is good advice here. And this is for any job that you choose to take that has an assessment online or anything like that. A lot of the questions on these online assessments for any corporation they go from strongly disagree, somewhat disagree, agree, strongly agree, or somewhat agree, and strongly agree. Make sure you're answering at the either end of that spectrum. Just put that away. Think about it if that day ever comes. But you go to Longhorn Steakhouse, you fill out a 165 question assessment, and then the talent acquisition manager will pick it up, look at your resume, and we'll go from there. If you want to work in a restaurant, you can fill out we also assess at the restaurant level for cooks and servers as well. But we've got it. You can go in on your cell phone now, and it's not too complicated. It's like 25, 30 questions or something like that. That's a good question. That's a good one for sure. We're always looking to pick up. Staffing's the number one priority right now, and I would say in any restaurant, especially at Cheddar's. I mean, to run that many guests, you need like 20 some servers a shift, 14 shifts a week. That's a lot of human beings. I mean, those staffs are like 150, 160 people on staff to run those restaurants, where a Longhorn's like 50, and then if you get independent, a lot of the times you got 6 servers. How many servers you got? 6. You know, I mean, that's just how it goes. So, good question.
All right, what else we got? Anything else? Well, let's hear it for Jason.
Thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Do we want a picture?
Yeah.
Should Asker and I find seats and kind of expand the group?
We can do the rock star selfie here.